Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for joining the Waffles and Wives podcast. I am Alicia Miles, and I'm really excited about this topic because it's not something that I am familiar with. So, having someone who can speak to it, because I have so many friends that are journeying toward this or they're experiencing it. And I know sometimes it's one of those things that it's like you don't want it to happen, but things cause for change at some point. So my guest today is Miss Tinishia Davidson. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. So I want to briefly talk about how we met each other, because even though we don't converse a lot,
Right.
I still feel like there's this sisterly connection somewhere.
Yes.
So we actually met because you were venturing into launching earlier detection, which is, to encourage early breast cancer screenings, because this was something you actually went through. Can you talk a little bit about how we actually ended up connecting to help you with that project?
Absolutely. Okay. So we actually met because I needed a logo for my nonprofit, which is Earlier Detection Inc., which we focus on breast health education and early detection for women 40 and under.
Okay.
I was literally sitting at my dining room table, and I had a mutual friend who was like, I know somebody who would be perfect. You literally just tell her your vision, tell her what you think, and she got you. And I was like, okay. So our mutual friend connected us. I literally told her what I was thinking, and Alicia sent me back a logo and just blew my mind. I was like, how did you get it right? And I didn't even tell you that that's what I saw, because I couldn't even articulate what I saw, but she got it. So that's how we met.
Yeah, I remember that. And it didn't take long. And then that's what I try to tell people most of the time. If you don't have a clear vision, it's okay. Like, I feel like just having conversation usually helps me figure it out. And so when we talked, I was like, okay, I think I got it. I think I kind of know what it is. So I'm so happy that you agreed to join me for the podcast. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with how this got started. So I'll briefly just kind of give you some feedback on it. I was actually hosting brunches for my wife friends at my home. And another young lady who she actually did one at her home. And so I kind of linked up with her. I was like, hey, would you mind if I kind of piggyback off your idea and start doing, something like this? And she was like, absolutely, here go your material, all the stuff I use. And so I was like, okay, cool. So I actually ended up doing them in my home probably about 2 times. And then I decided to do a bigger one. So I had a bigger brunch last year, but I had to limit the number of women that came because of the venue size.
Right.
And food. It was expensive. But I tried to do it again this year, and I had to cancel it because I didn't get a lot of feedback. And so I was like, okay, maybe I'm thinking too small. And so that's how the podcast came about, because now I can reach more people,
right?
And we can do, a plethora of things or whatnot. So, but I really wanted it because I do feel like I like this platform in a sense, because I really believe that families are the foundation to healthy relationships. And I really want to encourage those who want to have healthy marriages as well.
Right.
And so that's how, really, in a nutshell, how the podcast came along. So when I put out the topics, you selected the life after divorce. Would you do anything differently? And so I didn't ask you questions prior to. I don't.
Right. It's just going to be a real conversation.
This is a real conversation. And for me to kind of just, if there are things that and that's the other thing about Waffles and Wives. This is really not about pointing the finger at the spouse. It's about taking, looking at yourself and trying to determine, hey, am I contributing to anything that's detrimental to, my relationship with my husband? So I didn't ask questions. I was like, we're just gonna talk it out, because I want to know why she chose this topic.
Right.
I want to know what she can tell us that will help us, do better in a sense
Mhm.
if we're having some issues. So I'm gonna just let you start talking, and then I'll just kind of filter what types of questions I would like to ask as you proceed. But let's just start off by thinking about, what was it like when you got married? What did that feel like the first time? That whole, I'm in love type of thing. And then
Okay.
we'll talk about when it went haywire.
Okay.
Okay. So let's talk about, how it felt at the beginning, what me being married was like for you.
Okay. So, like I said, we're gonna be brutally honest. So
Hmm.
you were like, you know what, in the beginning, how you felt? I didn't feel that.
Oh,
No.
okay. Good stuff. Let's keep talking.
No. Um, so my ex-husband and I met while I was in undergrad. So I had known him a long time
Mhm,
before we actually started dating. Let's see, I want to say I met him in 2001,
mhm,
and we actually didn't start dating until 2005.
mhm.
No, 2006.
Okay.
2006. He chased me for about 5 years.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
because I heard that he had a girlfriend, and I thought he was just a dog, like just trying to talk to me or whatever. But
Mhm.
he was really really cool. We became really really good friends, and then eventually we started dating.
Okay.
Um, soon after, very very soon after we started dating,
Oh,
I got pregnant.
oh, okay.
Mhm. I
Plot
got
twist.
pregnant with our, I have a set of, my first daughters are a set of twins.
Okay.
So literally soon after we started dating, I got pregnant with my twins.
Okay.
So we were not um connected enough before I got pregnant. I
You
will
had
say
built a
that.
relationship,
Right.
nothing, yeah,
I
no
did not
partnership,
take the
nothing, yeah.
time
Mhm.
to get all of the information that I shouldn't have gotten. Like there was not a long courtship.
Okay. Okay.
And looking back, of course, hindsight is always 2020.
Yeah.
Looking back, I feel like we rushed into a marriage.
Okay.
Now, not that he's a bad person,
Right.
none of that. We
Mhm.
just rushed into a marriage
Mhm.
um because of my children. Now, here's my take on it. I'm going to
Okay.
tell you my take.
Absolutely.
And this is why I wanted to do this particular topic, right?
Yeah.
So I think the very first mistake that I made was worrying about what everybody else thought.
Mhm. Yeah.
So once I got pregnant with my twins, I knew he was going to have to be my husband because I didn't want no baby daddy.
Yeah.
Literally, that's how I thought. Like, I am
Yes.
not having a baby daddy. I'm having a husband.
Yeah.
I'm not having a baby daddy.
Right.
And it was just like by hook or by crook, we're gonna make this thing work.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, now there were great moments in our relationship. Now I'm not gonna say that it was just a horrible relationship and we only stayed together because I had the kids. That's not why.
Right.
Um, but we rushed into it. There were certain things that we should have done before we got married. Um, yeah, we just should have dated a lot more and gotten to know each other deeper before we got married.
Married. Yeah. So tell me this though.
Hmm.
And while you were talking, it got me to thinking. We rushed
Okay.
into marriage, right?
Uh-huh.
Would he have been someone that you chose, knowing what you know now? Would he still have been the person that you would have chose to been in a relationship with?
Ooh. Um, would I have dated him? Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Would I have married him? Probably
Probably not.
not. Mhm.
So when
Yeah.
you said hindsight is 2020, what was it? I mean, how long were y'all married?
For 12 years.
12 years. So the
Mhm.
kids are a little older. Did you
Mhm.
have more children after
I
that?
did. I did. I had another little girl 15 months later.
Okay, okay, okay. Oh my
I
God.
did. Right. I had another little girl 15 months later.
So throughout those 12 years,
Mhm.
when did you notice, hey, was it early in the marriage or maybe after the kids started getting a little bit older? When did you notice that, hey, this doesn't feel right to me?
Um, if I'm honest, when I started to grow into who I was,
Okay.
because I got married at 25
Mhm.
and Tanisha didn't know Tanisha at 25.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
was going by, I felt like, you have to be married. Like, okay, so this culture thing. So let's go ahead and dispel this myth now. This
Okay.
culture thing where you have to be married and have a career and all of this by age 30. Who
Mhm.
said that? Who told you that?
It don't work.
No, right. No. And
So,
that was
yeah.
in my mind.
Yeah.
Like I had to have this picture perfect thing,
Mhm.
and it wasn't picture
Because
perfect.
I mean,
So,
in a sense, do you
mhm,
think we were taught, we were raised to believe that you do things decent and in order, and you're gonna have your career, then you're gonna get married, and you're gonna have kids
mhm,
like that. We're always told that there's a certain
mhm,
progression of things when in fact it should be different for everybody.
right. Well,
Mhm.
here's the thing: when it doesn't start out decent and in order, and you keep going trying to fix it, you just make a bigger mess.
That's a good point. That's a good point. It does.
Right.
Yeah.
So when the foundation is not right and you try to fix it and try to change a person because you
Mm.
cannot change anyone else,
Okay.
then you just make a bigger mess.
Yeah, and one of the conversations that I had with in another episode was she recommended that you know who you are before trying to get to know somebody else. But I
Absolutely.
wonder sometimes, I think it's a great point. I do think but do you think that you also get to know who you are while you're with someone? Because they test your gangster. You know what I mean? Like
That's the
they
game.
test
Yes.
you and then you
Yes.
learn, what you put up with, what you
Hmm.
won't put up with. Like
Hmm.
if you don't know ahead of the relationship, do you think it's okay, depending on your partner, to try to figure it out or just, grow as grow with this person as you go? Or do you think, nah, you need to know who you are before you get with somebody?
Dating, you can grow as you go.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as now, you're going to grow in a marriage, period.
Right.
So you need to know what you like. Okay, so no. I'm not going to say what you like. You need to have your standards set
Okay.
and don't move them.
Okay.
If there are certain things that that you require in a
Yeah.
mate, don't move them.
Don't move them.
That's You're right. Now, because in a marriage, you're going to grow. The person that you married is not the same person 10 years from now. It shouldn't be, because you
Good
should
point.
grow. Right.
They should not be the same.
Right. So
Absolutely
even
right.
in a marriage, you're going to grow as you go.
Yeah.
Um, but I definitely think that just like the foundation of you and certain things that that you will not tolerate, like your non-negotiables, that
Yes.
need to be set before you go into a marriage.
Okay.
And you find that out dating. That's why the dating stage is so important.
They
Don't
please.
rush the courting stage. Don't rush the dating stage, because that's when you figure out what you can put up with, what you're not going to put up with. Because what's the movie? Why Did I Get Married? When they talk about the 80/20
Yeah.
rule.
Yeah.
So true.
It is. It really
So
is.
true.
It really
Yes.
is.
So
Yeah.
you need to figure out
Yeah.
what 20% of things that you really don't but you're willing to put up with.
Yeah.
And that 80% need to be solidified before you go into a
Yeah.
marriage.
I
I'll
totally
say that.
agree. So do you think that I hear people talk, especially young ladies, always talk about how, well, we've been together for 2 years and he need to put a ring on it. And I'm like, 2 years is really not a long time if you're still trying to get to know somebody. I took 6. We were together
Okay.
for 6 years before we got married. And we were young and we started dating maybe when I turned 22, 21.
Uh-huh.
And then we didn't get married till I was like 26, 27, somewhere up in there, maybe even 28. But I took that time, we didn't live together until the year that we got married.
Mhm.
So I took that time to actually say, okay, let me really figure out. And I really wanted to see if, how would we do in tragedy? How will we do in when it's good and when it's bad? And I don't know that, and I know that they say that you really just need the 4 seasons to get to know somebody, to see how they, turn with, every season and things that happen. But do you think that there should be a limit on the number of years or how long you wait before you say you need to put a ring on my finger?
Now, I will say this. I don't think it's going to take any man 10, 12, 15 years to know if he wants to marry you.
Right, right.
But as far as I don't think a couple of years is a long time. I don't think 5 years is a long time, because that it depends on where you are in life.
Right.
So say if we met in college, in undergrad, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up getting married 10 years later, and we've been together for 10 years. Well, 4 or 5, well, I will say 5, because most times now it takes 5 years. 5 of those years was in college.
Yeah.
And then you're getting started in your career or grad school or things of that sort, and you're laying the foundation. So I think it depends on the relationship. It depends on the situation as far as how many years, or the amount of time that it will take. Because I have a very good friend. Her and her husband were married within 3 weeks, and 15 years later, they are still here strong.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. So it doesn't take a long time. Like if
He said he knew that that was his wife.
And that's all it takes most of the time. Hey, okay.
Yes, I'm telling you, 3 weeks. And I was like, girl,
wow.
you tripping. This man could be a mass murderer. He could be, I mean, like,
right.
15
all
years
kinds
later.
Of thoughts.
Right. The 15 years later, they are strong.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. That's awesome. So I have this philosophy that every 5 to 7 years, we change as individuals because, like you mentioned, the careers happen, the children happen, new friends come in your life. A lot of things just happen, that whole cycle of 5 to 7 years. You really are trying to figure out, do I need to reinvent myself? I want to do something different. And sometimes your spouse is not on board. And so you mentioned that when you started to figure out who Tinishia was, that's when you noticed that the marriage was kind of getting a little rocky. Yes. So tell me, what was happening around that time? Like, did he not like it? Did he what would make somebody not want to stay with you as you're growing and you making those changes? Like, we know that's going to happen. And why would somebody not want to be on board with that? What was going on at the time?
Okay, so in my situation, so when we first got married, I was not working. So I decided to quit my job and be a stay-at-home mom for the first 5 years. No, 3. First 3 years of my children's lives. Now I say stay-at-home mom loosely because I ended up working like little odd jobs here and there because I wanted my own money, and that's another thing we're gonna talk about. Right. But then after that, I had started to get into my field, which was education. I started teaching, and then going back to grad school. And honestly, my friend group kind of changed. My eyes were open to a lot of things that I didn't do, a lot of the things that I used to do.
Right.
I wasn't as, I don't want to use the word dumb.
Yeah.
Because dumb is not a good word.
Yeah.
But
naive, maybe?
Naive. There you go. I wasn't as naive. I had started to grow into Tinishia. So it was more than just the mom Tinishia. Now is the mom Tinishia, the career Tinishia, the spiritual Tinishia, because I grew a lot spiritually.
Yeah. Okay.
And that was a huge barrier because I was growing spiritually and my ex-husband did not want to grow spiritually.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I know.
Yeah.
I know,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
So when you all decided to make the decision to divorce, was it a mutual, like this isn't working for either one of us? Or did you say, I don't really care what, you think about it. I don't want to go. I mean, did you do anything as far as counseling or whatnot to kind of mend those changes? Or did you both just say, you know what, this isn't working?
As far as when I got to that point, Alicia, I was done.
Okay.
There was nothing that anyone could have told me.
Okay.
When I say I was done, I was done. I didn't care what anybody else thought. I was done.
Yeah.
We had tried counseling before one time, but he didn't want to get counseling.
Yeah. And that
right.
Yeah.
I did, he didn't. And then when I said, okay, I think we'll be better off in a co-parenting relationship and not as husband and wife, then it was okay, well, we can try counseling. No, because see, now that's control.
Yes, it is.
Now
Yes, it is.
there's the yo-yo, and now you yanking that. No. I tried that multiple times.
Right.
Now I will say this though. If you fast forward now, we're great. The beginning was the beginning. Right. He had a lot of growing to do as well.
Yeah.
But now, totally different person.
Really?
We get along great. Like great.
So do you think if y'all had met at different points in your life or a different time, different season? Oh, still went. Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So then here comes the next question. You make a decision that, hey, I'm done. How did you walk the children through the separation?
So the way we did it was we called them into the room and told them that mommy and daddy would no longer be living together in the same house. We are both still here for you in every capacity, but we just won't be living together in the same house. Now that wasn't too odd for them because he worked out of town. Okay. So he wasn't in the house every single day. Yeah. So that wasn't too bad of a transition. Gotcha. They just understood that they would, see him less in the house. Okay. They were, of course, they're children, so of course they had their questions and they went through their phases, but I think my children been here before. Like they were fine.
Yeah. I was just about to ask you, like, do you think though that they saw the, maybe the pain or the discomfort that you guys were going through?
Yeah. Yeah. Children see a lot more than we think they see.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. They pay attention when you think.
Yes. Yes.
That is so true.
They see a lot more than we think that they see.
Okay. So tell me this, and this is the cusp of the conversation. What would you do differently? Like if you knew that, are you saying that, hey, I just wouldn't have got married because we had kids and that would have just solved all the issues? But what if it wasn't children? What if you ended up getting married anyway and children came later?
Right.
Is there anything that you think now I'm pretty sure we can always talk all day long about he should have did this, he should have did that. Right. I didn't, but do you think that there will be anything that you would have done differently over the course of those years that y'all were married to try to make this thing, work?
During the course of the marriage to try to make it work? I think I would have been more vocal and communicated the things that I did not like instead of just putting up with them.
Oh yeah, that's good.
I definitely would have done that differently because by the time I started to speak up, in his defense, he was just like, where is this coming from? Well, it's always been there, but I was just putting up with it.
And that's something that even though we've been together for so long, and the same conversation that I had the other day, that is one of the most difficult things for me is not being able to say what I want Because I'm like, I can get it myself. And I don't need your help. I can get it myself. And to his defense, he's always wondering, like, do you even need me here? Like, why, what are we doing? And so I oftentimes have to catch myself now that when he asks, hey, can I help you with something? I say yes, hey, do this. But I noticed that it was making me angry when he wouldn't volunteer, or he should know how to. Okay. Okay, so I'm not the only one. Like, you should know how to help me. Like, I shouldn't have to ask. But sometimes.
But here's the thing, though, you should. Because so as women, a lot of times we hold our partners to this standard that we have in our head.
Yeah.
And they have no idea what it is. So in our minds, we're like, well, he should know that I need, and he really doesn't.
Yeah.
So right. we actually do have to ask if we need help, or if you want him to do something, just let him know. Because now, this is not a bash against men, but they are horrible mind readers. They are horrible.
Look, that's not a bash. That's like commonplace. They no, they are not by a long shot.
No.
No.
Yeah, I had to learn that too. Like,
yeah, no, they're not. They're not. Yeah. And it's not like it's not like they're doing it intentionally. It's
right.
literally like they're not. They think on whatever it is they're thinking on at that moment. If it doesn't, if you didn't implant something in their head that, oh, she told me I need to do it, it's just
right.
They're not gonna think ahead about it. So yeah, okay. So you say you should tell them. They need to know it's not something that you should expect.
Right.
Okay. All right, I got it. So where are you now in terms of, dating? Do you want to get married
again? Okay, so I am dating.
Okay.
Someone phenomenal. Do I want to get married again? Yes.
Okay.
Because I do believe in marriage. I do believe in the sanctity of marriage. Do I want to get married right this second? No.
I got you.
Not right this second. But I do see myself getting married again. I do.
And so now hey, this is what I need to ask for. This is what I need. These are, like you said, my non-negotiables. And you talk about those things now so that it's not a surprise
right
when you get married. Because one of the things that I know that was my problem, my fault, is I started to change the rules once we got married. And what I mean by that is, I never said, hey, I don't like this, I don't like that, don't do this, don't do that. But as we got, further into marriage, and I'm like, okay, I don't really like that. Like, why, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Now I'm changing the rules. And he's like, what the hell happened? And so we literally had to like talk through, hey, let me just explain. Let me explain where I'm coming from. And I think a lot of things happened, though, that also contributed to me saying, you know what, if I'm going to make this work, I have to be willing to make adjustments for myself. And let's just see if that changes anything. And it literally works wonders. So when you think about dating and going into, if he just said, you know what, that's not something I can do for you. That's not me. That's not my personality. How would you approach the conversation about, okay, let's not take this any further, or unfortunately, if you can't make that change, then we can't be together? Like, how do you reach that point and have that conversation?
I'm glad I'm not in that predicament. Glad I'm not in that predicament. Like I said, I think it's something that we would have to talk about, because see, the person that I'm dating, he's bringing his experience in as well. So it's different, because this is not 23, 24, 25-year-old Tinishia. This is 40-year-old Tinishia with experience. And so he's bringing his experiences to the table as well. And we've actually had conversations about things that I just do not like, things that did not work. I've done that before, yada yada yada. Like I think we'll just have to talk about it. And if it's one of my like non-negotiables, like
Yeah.
then I would just have to just be like, okay, why are we even moving forward?
Are we moving forward? Yeah. Now I know that we talked briefly about earlier detection, and were you experiencing or had you experienced the illness during your marriage, or did it come, much later
It
after
came
you started
shortly.
divorce?
It literally came shortly after my legal divorce.
Okay.
Because we were separated years before we actually just legally got divorced.
Okay.
That girl, now that whole story, which is bananas, how I found my breast cancer. But yeah, that came literally right after the legal divorce part.
And did you have to navigate what that looked like with your ex-husband at the time, especially as it pertains to the children? Even though he was no longer in your life, you are still the mother of his children.
Right.
So how were you able to, in the separation, in the divorce, still feel like, hey, I have to communicate with him on things that they may not want to, but hey, we're co-parenting. So we need to make sure that we're doing this. So how did you have the conversation with him in, how did that happen? Because I feel like there might have been some guilt, that he might have felt after, you know what I'm saying, knowing that you're going through something like.
Right.
So tell me, how did that conversation come about for y'all?
That conversation with Nat. So like I said, this was after the storm.
Okay.
So we were communicating about the children. Like I said, we get along fine. And I called him and I said, I have something to tell you. And he was like, what? So, he thought I was about to be funny because like we still joking with each other. And he thought I was about to be funny. And I said, no, seriously. I was like, I was diagnosed with breast cancer a couple of days ago. And he was like, you for real? And I was like, yeah, I'm serious. Like, I'm not playing. And he was just like, I got you. Whatever you need for the kids, whatever. Yeah. So he was very supportive throughout the entire process.
Okay.
So there was no rift. I can honestly say I'm blessed when it comes to that. There was no rift.
Okay. So talk to us about the co-parenting though a little bit more. And the kids are how old now?
Oh, 16 and 15. So I have teenagers.
And okay, so that's a whole nother parenting teenagers these days has to be difficult. So
that's a whole podcast.
Yes. So when did you introduce your children to the guy that you're dating now, or have you?
I have.
Okay.
I have. They know him very well. By this point, yeah.
Okay.
How did I introduce them?
Because I'm wondering if you have to be selective while you're dating. I guess that's the question. That while you're dating,
yeah.
And then here's the thing, because I just watched a movie about. I just watched there's a show, Survival of the Thickest, I think,
on Netflix. Yes.
And they had, I don't know how far you got, and I don't want to give it away, but he started dating a single mom, and he ended up meeting the dad, and the dad just gave him the worst of time about.
I haven't gotten to the point where he meets the dad, but I am to the point where he knows about the son.
But anyway, to not go into the episode,
right?
It was a really awkward situation because the dad was still active in his son's life, and now she's wanting to introduce, or had actually introduced, her son to the new boyfriend. And I'm curious though, since you are in that, you dealt with that, how would you express to someone how to navigate that turn in the relationship, that now I have completely detached from my ex-husband, but we're still connected by children, and now I want to venture into a new relationship, and now he needs to meet my children. So how how do you think even now are you handling that relationship, or what advice would you give to someone on how to navigate, that situation in there?
Um, I would just be honest because I was always honest. The person that I'm dating now of course, knew that I had children. Um, no, so of course, if I have children, then they have a father.
Mhm.
So, we did speak about them one day having to meet simply because they are girls.
Oh,
And I know how my ex-husband, feels about another man. And well, I think all men probably feel this way
yeah.
about another man being around my children.
Yep.
Which is actually a valid point.
Yeah.
So they met, my one of the twins was going to the prom. And you know how
Mhm.
the families, we all get together
Yep.
and take pictures.
Yep.
Well, he called before because he doesn't live in Columbus and he was driving down. So
Mhm.
he called and asked if he could bring his friend.
Mhm.
And I said, sure.
Okay.
Which my friend was already coming.
Ah,
So it was that way. And that's how they met in person. So it was actually like a family type thing, the way that they met.
okay.
And I mean, so far so good. We don't have any issues. Like I said, my past relationship has been over. He's moved on. I mean, life goes on, and
Life goes
that was
on, yeah.
just something that we had to talk about. Yes, we are bound by these children and we are co-parenting, but we're not going to make it a hostile situation.
Okay. Okay.
And divorce is a very real thing. So
Yeah.
what we don't want to do is paint this unrealistic picture for our girls
Right. Right.
that life does not go on. That's so not true. There is life after divorce, and
Right.
you can get along with your ex spouse.
Mhm.
You don't have to hate each other. We don't have to have the stereotypical baby mama, baby daddy. I don't like you because he date my baby mom. No, no,
Yeah.
no.
We grown.
Right. We are all adults, and that's what we're doing now. We're doing our best to give our daughters the best example.
Best example.
Mhm.
So I just had a thought about when we talk about the stigma of getting a divorce.
Mhm.
And did you worry about you worried about what people thought at the beginning
Mhm.
about being, having children before
Mhm.
getting married? Did you
Mhm.
worry about what people thought when you got a divorce?
When I first thought about getting a divorce, yes,
Okay.
I did.
Did you contemplate whether or not you should do it based on what you thought other people would think?
Yes,
Okay. Okay.
I did. Which is this is crazy. A lot. And he and I have actually talked about this.
Okay.
A lot of people said that we would make it,
No, okay.
so we was bound and determined to prove them wrong.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
Um, yeah,
that's good.
but when it was time for actual divorce, I didn't care what anybody thought. I'm, I'm serious. The only person I care, the only entity, being, person that was God. That was it.
That was it.
I just because I wanted to make sure that I offered counseling, that I prayed over him, anointed thing. Like I did everything that
Everything.
I was supposed to do
Right.
before I pulled the plug. That way, I'm good. I
Yeah.
did my part. I did everything that God told me to do. Because when I tell you I prayed about that thing, ooh,
Mhm.
yes, I
Mhm.
did.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I did all that I was supposed to do, all that I was instructed by God to do, and
Did
then
y'all
I went on.
know before? Did y'all know that people were against y'all that they didn't think? Did y'all know before making I guess during the marriage, y'all know that people thought y'all weren't gonna make it? Or was it
Um,
before?
no,
Okay.
not in the beginning.
Okay. Okay.
Things
Okay.
started coming out while we were married,
Marriage.
but in the beginning, no.
Now, did you allow people to speak into your marriage? You
What do you
know,
mean?
okay, because that's a
What do you
conversation.
mean by allowing people to
So,
speak
like,
into it?
people always have an opinion. Like maybe you may not have been expressing, the difficulties that y'all were having. Y'all may not have ever talked about it to other people, but I'm always curious as to whether or not we allow people to say things like y'all should be doing this and you should be doing that. And I wouldn't let my husband, like, were there any triggers for you to say, okay, I don't have to put up with this? Or was this a Tinishia decision that you were not influenced by anybody else in your family, friends? Did someone say, girl, I wouldn't stay in that marriage if I were you?
Oh yeah, no, this was totally a Tanisha
Okay.
decision.
Okay.
Totally a Tanisha decision. When I told my family that I was getting a divorce, I told my family that I was getting a divorce.
Okay.
I was, at that point I was done.
Okay. And I wanted to and we can go ahead and start wrapping up, but I wanted to also get your opinion on someone who is thinking about divorcing.
Okay.
And they, I guess what I really want to talk about is you may have thought about getting a divorce over minor things, over big things. How did you know? How did you know that, okay, I can walk away? Because I've experienced things. I'm pretty sure there are other wives who was like, you know what, I probably should have divorced him, because you find yourself dealing with things as you go on that didn't get corrected because you never addressed the issue why you want to get divorced in the first place. Right. And so I wonder, how do you get to a point where you can just say to yourself, it's okay. It's okay to walk away, especially if there's abuse, if there's, anything that is detrimental to your health, mental state, all those things. I feel like those are clear answers to say, okay, I don't have to deal with this. But how can someone finalize the decision with themselves? Or what did you go through to say, you know what, I'm at peace with this decision?
Okay. So the first thing that I would suggest that any couple does is get some counseling. Okay. Whether you seek godly counsel from your pastors at church, or if you don't want to go that route, go the LPC, just a regular practitioner, I would definitely say get counseling. Okay. Communicate. Definitely communicate with each other on the things that you like, things that you don't like. I didn't like it when because it made me feel, or just definitely do that. Do all that you can to save your marriage. Now, even though I am divorced, I am not, just everybody need to get divorced. No, right. Absolutely not. I am 100% for marriage with the right person. Yes. Yeah. If it is something that can be fixed, fix it. Okay. Because a lot of minor things, can be fixed. Major things, go to counseling. Look, I know this is not a spiritual podcast, but definitely pray. Oh yeah. You and your spouse need to pray together. Absolutely. Together.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I wanted to try to encourage wives to do, is that one of the things that I learned that helped me so much, and it actually came from counsel. I was actually, just talking to someone that I trusted, and one of the things that she told me that just stuck with me, and I immediately started putting it into practice, is she said, it's not your job to change your husband. It's not your job to tell him what he's doing wrong. It's not your job to badger him and try to train him. He is not your child. It is your job, however, as his wife, to pray for him and ask God to change the things that you want, or ask God, hey, God, I want to see this from my husband. God, can you talk to him and say, hey, wife needs X, Y, and Z, but it's not our place to be that. We could be an intermediary. I'm praying for you, but that was one of the things that I learned was, Alicia, you can't change him, baby.
Right.
Right. You'll have to ask God to pray to instill in his heart the things that you want, that you hope for. But that to me was probably the biggest and most important thing that I learned, was that it was not my job to make him the man that I wanted him to be.
There you go. And that was a huge mistake that I made.
Mhm.
I tried to make him the man that I wanted him to be.
Mhm.
But back to your former question, I would say once you have, sought counsel, you've prayed
Mhm.
about it, you've done everything that God has told you to do,
Correct. Correct. Correct.
then if things are not lining up or then I can say you can walk away with a clean conscience.
And would you also agree that you need to make sure that, and I know you do agree with this, I don't even know why I'm asking, but
What?
God needs to be in the middle of all of that. Like
Absolutely.
you don't call on him when it's bad. It's bad. He needs to be a part of every conversation, every action, everything that
Mhm.
happens. And I personally believe that there are always going to be hard conversations. You're not always going to agree. You're not, I mean,
Mhm.
let's just face it. We can talk about, marriages and being just all hunky dory. And no, we know that's not the truth. I don't care what you say. I mean, I love my husband to death, but we have arguments. We fight. We
Right,
don't
right,
agree.
right.
But at the same time, the pros always outweigh the cons in most cases. And so
Mhm.
I totally agree that you definitely need to make sure you seek counsel first before you
Mhm.
make any decisions, and listening to your friends may not always be
Oh,
the right
girl,
way to
no,
go.
no. That's keep your friends and family out of your marriage.
Mhm.
That's a big thing too, because see, like for one, you all can get into this huge argument, right? And you
Mhm.
upset and you go venting to your friends and family. You and your husband make up. Oh, but them jokers still mad.
You're mad. They don't like
So
them.
right, so that causes a lot of tiff. But I would say this: seek counsel before you get
Get
married. I
there.
didn't do that.
Okay. Good
Yes,
point.
seek counsel
Definitely.
before you get married.
Okay.
Get to know that person's family, how they interact with their family
Good one.
before you get married.
Good one. Good one. Because
Because
they're
a lot of
influence.
times, right, because a lot of times we'll get ourselves into things and then expect God to just fix it and make it work.
Oh, that's good.
And God is like, I didn't tell you to do that in the
That's
first
how we
place.
do.
Right,
God looking like you didn't call me before today.
right,
Hey, hey.
right. But I would
Good
definitely
point.
say seek counsel before,
Yes.
because
Good.
there are a lot of things that, well, there are a lot
Yep.
of things that come up in marriage.
Yep. A lot
Um,
of things. A
yeah,
lot of things.
he's not
So
always so handsome. Sometimes you look at that joke and he be real ugly.
perfect. Oh, absolutely. So I have really enjoyed this conversation.
Am I, ma'am?
I think that this will definitely help some people reflect on, how they should not necessarily, I guess, just take a different perspective, like take a deep breath and really assess the situation before they decide to make drastic decisions. Or if you decide to make the decision of divorce, that it is not the end of your love
Right.
life, of your
It
relationships.
is not the end.
It's not the end. And
Mhm.
if you are seeking a partner, that now you know who you are, and you know what you won't accept, what you
Right.
all of those things come out of that. If
Mhm.
nothing else, you have learned who you are and
Mhm.
you've grown through the situation, and it doesn't define you by no means.
Right.
So
Right. I would definitely say, now that I have my first marriage, now that I have that experience, I'm taking a lot more into my, if I ever get married again,
mhm.
I will have a lot more experience, and taking it into that.
No, yeah, awesome,
Yeah.
awesome, awesome. So before we go, I do want you to talk to everyone, give us a little bit more information about earlier detection and how we
Okay.
can support this cause. Um, I remember creating also the brochure that went out about
Yes.
sponsorships and all that stuff. And you've been rocking and rolling and making
Yes,
it happen.
ma'am.
The first brunch was a huge success. And what
It
I love
was.
about it is that any proceeds or some of the proceeds go back to helping some of the ladies who might,
Yes.
have to utilize services and care for their breast cancer,
Yes.
you know, regimen or what, I don't know the proper way to say it. I'm pretty sure you'll tell me, but talk to us about how we can support earlier detection and, you know, all the things that you need for us to do to get on board with that.
Okay. So I'll go back. Earlier detection, like I said, is a nonprofit organization where we do breast health education, and we help women who are, well, current breast cancer warriors who are in the journey now, who are under the age of 40. We call that our Pink Parachute initiative. Like she mentioned, the brunch last year. So
Yeah.
the brunch last year was at the DoubleTree. Let me tell you how God worked. So the
Okay.
brunch was at the DoubleTree. I literally dreamed, Alicia. I saw this brunch in a dream.
Okay.
And I got up and I was sitting at the table with two of my friends, and I was like, I'm going to do a breast cancer awareness brunch. I dreamed it was at the DoubleTree. I literally saw everything before it happened.
Oh, okay.
I was expecting maybe 75 to 100 people, you know, just so we can cover the cost. Alicia, we outgrew the DoubleTree.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
So
okay.
now we are at the St. Luke Center,
Oh,
which will be October 14th. It's our second annual breast health education brunch, October 14th at the St. Luke Center, which is 301 11th Street in Columbus, Georgia.
Downtown.
Yes, downtown. Tickets are $50 a piece.
Okay.
We have tables that you can purchase as well, and the tickets and the tables are just $400. We're not making you pay extra because it's a table. The tables are just $400,
okay.
right? Which is just 8 people. You know, so if you wanted to sit together with your group, then I would suggest that you all get a table. Like maybe one person can purchase it. You know, you all pay that one person back.
Okay. Yeah.
We also have different sponsorship levels. We have the Rose Gold sponsorship level, which is our big one, which is $1,000. That includes a table. And it also includes a commercial. Like if you are a business or just whatever, and you have a commercial, we will play your commercial during the brunch.
Okay.
We also have a choral sponsorship, which is $500, and that includes 4 seats.
Okay.
We have the Hot Pink sponsorship is $200, and that includes 1 ticket.
Okay.
We have wait a minute. I have a 150. I can't think of which shade of pink that is. And I know we have a blush sponsorship, which is $75.
Okay.
And that does not include a ticket. It's just if you wanted to sponsor. And proceeds from that goes to our Pink Parachute initiative. So what the Pink Parachute initiative is where we award, like I said, current breast cancer warriors who are under the age of 40 we help them with transportation, hygiene products, and food.
Awesome.
So that's what our Pink Parachute initiative is. And we have recently just partnered with Uber Health. I didn't even know Uber Health was a thing. So we just partnered with Uber Health. So, you know, if you don't have a ride to your appointments, or current and former breast cancer warriors would understand this, or if you are unable to drive.
Okay.
Because a lot of times during treatment, I know chemo is chemo. I'll just say that. Chemo is definitely chemo. However, God is God.
Absolutely. So how often do you have to have first of all, how are you where are you in your breast cancer journey?
I am 1 year cancer free now.
Yay.
Yes, I am 1 year cancer free.
Yay.
That's where I am in my journey. I did 4 rounds of intense chemo.
Okay.
25 rounds of radiation. And now I am in the hormone therapy part, which is where I have to take a hormone blocker for 10 years because the cancer that I had was estrogen positive. Okay. So I have to take a hormone blocker to the estrogen and things from out of my body.
Okay. And how often do you have to go for screening?
Every 6 months.
Every 6 months. Okay.
Every 6 months. I have cancer markers done every 6 months.
Okay.
and I have to have a mammogram done every 6 months.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So tell us, is there a deadline that you want us to try to get our tickets, our sponsorships for
Yes.
the brunch?
The brunch is October 14th. September 30th is our hard deadline
Okay. All
for
right.
tickets and sponsorships.
Okay. September 30th. All right.
Yes.
All right. Well, Miss Tinishia, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for
Thank you for
taking
having me. I
time.
had a ball.
Listen, I always say I'm glad you thought it not robbery to spend time with
Come
me.
on.
To spend time with me today. I really appreciate you. I'm always cognizant of everybody's time. So I really want to thank you for carving out some time to talk with us. I really enjoyed this conversation. I think it will definitely give some insight into anyone that might be going through this phase of their life,
Yeah.
contemplating, what my life would be after divorce.
Right.
Of course, we
There
hope you
is
try to
life
work it
after
out.
divorce.
There is life. There is
Yes.
definitely life after divorce. Is there any parting words or anything that you want to say, ask me before we go?
No, if I were to have any parting words, it would just definitely be to make sure that you are praying and seeking godly counsel before
Okay.
you make any move. Do not make any haste movements. I wouldn't do that. Just definitely make sure that you pray
Absolutely. And I
before
concur.
you make
I
movements.
concur.
Yes.
I concur. Well, Tanisha, I'm going to close us out. I want you to hold on
Okay.
with me for a second. But I want to thank everybody for joining the episode today. Please leave comments if you have any questions for Tanisha. You can put them in the comments section. Of course, this is on YouTube, so you'll be able to put your questions or your comments in that section, and hopefully, she'll watch the playback and answer your questions. I will try to do what I can, but if there's anything specific that you want to ask Tanisha, I will definitely make sure that she knows that someone is reaching out to her. So you guys have an awesome night. We will see you on the next episode. Have a good one. All righty.